Really grateful to have had a bye week this week. I thought we made some nice progress with our some of our players that were banged up, not lost for the season, but just needed some time to recover. We got of the 6 and then what became 7 offensive starters out during the Idaho State game. We've got 5 of those guys back and practicing now, and I'm not exactly sure where they will be, but just to be back on the field in a practice mode is great from a leadership standpoint. Those are all key guys that have done a lot for us in the past. Great to see that and see that for them. The timing is right. We're going into a really challenging, difficult part of the schedule. We've got a couple of road games in a row, and the big one obviously to be focused on is a great Idaho team this week. They're playing really good football, have had 2, kind of like Idaho State, 2 fourth quarter leads against FBS opponents. Lost on really last play of the game type field goals at Washington State and at San Jose State. They play really solid on defense. They have probably the best variety. They're very unpredictable on defense, and they're probably the best pattern match zone defensive football team that I've studied in the time that I've been here. Really well coached on that side of the football, play with great effort. Offensively, they attack us where we have been, where we need to improve, and in the run game, particularly a big personnel run game. They've got a quarterback that can add to the run game, does a really nice job of that. He's been at times their leading rusher, might still be their leading rusher. He's certainly very capable of adding a +1 in the run game. And they're really creative, like they are on defense, really creative, and bring a lot of variety in their offensive game plan. I've seen them once on the field with 9 offensive linemen on the field at the same time. They really have a willingness to change things up and to kind of insist on running the football, and it all starts from a toughness standpoint. Solid in special teams, as you'd expect, with a head coach with a special teams coordinator background, and a great environment. I was on staff for 2 years at the University of Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. Football is important there. It's a great place to play a game. I think there are some real venues in the Big Sky Conference that guys signed up to play at UNC for the opportunity to play there, and the University of Idaho and the Kibbie Dome is one of those. So great opponent, great challenge. I feel like we took advantage of the bye week, not just from a chance to get some guys back, but figure out where do a deep self-scout, figure out where we're strong and where we need to improve, and make decisions about how much effort to put into improvement, what to leave behind in terms of what we're doing on offense, defense, and special teams, and then also how to double down maybe on some of the things that we've been doing well. Yeah, I've said this before. We never played. This is the first time I will have been back to the Kibbie Dome, other than when I was working at BYU. We had a game against Washington State, and those communities are so close together. I think it's 8 miles apart or something like that. The team playing at Washington State will often stay in Moscow, as we did. And I took a morning run over and ran around and check out some of the new facilities and stuff. It looks like they've done some nice things there. But I have not been back in the Kibbie Dome since I worked there in very early 2000s. So excited to get back and see what that's like. But what I was referencing, the loudest game I've been a part of, and I've coached in some loud stadiums, at many games at BYU, which is really loud, but at Tennessee and at Wisconsin and places like that. And when we played against San Diego State in 2003 in the Kibbie Dome, that was the loudest I've ever heard a football game. So it was in our favor. Good win for us. San Diego State couldn't get a snap off in the fourth quarter. So it can be a loud place. I know it's homecoming for them, and I know they've got a really good football team that's can accomplish a lot this season. So we have a full expectation that it could be a really challenging environment from a noise standpoint. Really, the biggest challenge there are a lot of what people might call dual threat quarterbacks that can add something in the run game, and when they take off scrambling, they really can get a lot of yardage when the coverage has seemingly held up, and all of a sudden it's still a positive play for the offense. What Joshua does really well is he runs to throw, and so he'll just extend the play but still get the ball out on time. in the NFL, a lot of guys are doing that really well right now. I thought kind of Patrick Mahomes changed the game quite a bit when he started taking, instead of being locked into a certain footwork, he'll take the footwork he needs to get the play off for that play, but still get it off in a relatively timely manner, but give his receivers an extra moment to get open. And that's what Joshua does a really nice job of keeping his eyes open down the field. If he decides to tuck it and run it for yardage across the line of scrimmage, there's a lot of it'd be a big challenge for us to stop him in that way. But it's an equal challenge when he just keeps his eyes up and makes you play more and more coverage, what we call our plaster coverage, zone or man defense. When the quarterback buys extra time, we got to kind of reset the defense, find the receivers, and get close to them. It does give us a little more time. I think in the case when the games are stacked up kind of 1 week apart, it's really sometimes all we can do as coaches is to come in, address what we think the problems are, make small pivots and corrections, and then get ready for the next opponent. And I think the bye week offers just a little more time to take a cumulative look at everything we've done, including who our opponents are. Like a big part of, I think still this is relatively early in the season. We're one game into conference. And I know there's a lot of teams right now that are rated as good passing offenses or good defensive teams or whatever. A lot of that has to do with in football just who you've played at that point, and that's sometimes can be lost in the fact that football is such a quick season. There's only 12 games, not like basketball or some of these other sports that play 30 or 40 or hundreds of games at the pro level. And so I think a bye week is a good time to really dig into that and say, well, what was the strength of the teams that we played, and how much do we feel like that we're on the right track and just need to do it better, and then how much do we feel like maybe we need to do something different. And it's a pretty generic answer, but I need to purposely be that way because we are going to change some things, but to run the ball better and more efficiently, and to be a better rush defensive team. And that is a challenge that Idaho is ready to take every week. Their first priority is to run the football well and set up the rest of their offense around that. So it'll be a real challenge in that way, and I do think a great test of where we're at as a rush defense. Yeah, we go into every game with a lot of confidence. We're inspired by our players. Idaho presents unique, different challenges, and so I don't want to shy away from that. And really the main gauge of confidence has to come from players. I know our players know that we're confident in them because we're not a defense of the week. And so I think you're asking a defensive question there. We're not going to game plan our way around the Idaho Vandals rushing attack. We're going to lean into fundamentals and stuff that we already do, calls that we already have. We don't change a lot week to week. That's not a secret. Anybody who studies us on video can see that. And so I think that's where we show confidence in our players. But the question that you ask is a fair one, but probably better off asked directly to the players. Their confidence will really come down to how they feel about each other and the game and the film that they watch on our opponent and the way that the game goes early in the first half. We manufacture the noise with speakers. We've got a golf cart that we have. There was a time in my life when I thought I would be a rock star, and I invested in a nice Fender PA system, six inputs, 6 XLR inputs. That part didn't work out, so here I am, but I still have that PA system, and so I donated that to the program. We mount that on the back of a golf cart. It's got great sound, a lot of volume that comes out of it, and so we were able to create a challenge environment right there on the practice field. That's really all it takes. We don't necessarily. It's generally not loud when the defense is on the field. The Idaho fans are educated fans. They're not going to make it loud for their own offense. So it's our offense against my PA system.
Coach, follow up to the Rockstar comment. Is there a specific style that you would attribute your singing to?
Yeah, I was in a tribute band. We played when I was in Cedar City. It's one of the things I miss most, and one of the hard parts about moving and being in the coaching profession is moving. So I left behind friends, but we had a rock band there. We played covers, mostly kind of Eagles stuff, classic rock. I played bass most of the time, sometimes rhythm guitar. I'm not good at bass and singing at the same time because I'm not a musician. I've had to learn that over time. And the guys in the band let me know where I was really at, but we had a lot of good times together, a lot of fun. That sounds about right. And again, it's who you've played. So yeah, I think Idaho's maybe not the top offense in the country or in the conference statistically, but you know, who they played? They played 2 FBS teams. They played a very good Montana team that plays good defense. Just that alone in a 5-game stretch can significantly impact your scoring. I mean, Idaho State hung 90 points on Lincoln. It's kind of hard for a team like Idaho to, you know, with the schedule they've played versus Idaho State played Lincoln. How do you keep pace with numbers like that? It's hard unless you play Lincoln. So I think there's still, at this point in the season, it's a lot to be said for you played. What I see from the Idaho offense is a lot of capability, a great quarterback, running backs that really know what they're doing, are well coached, behind an offensive line that moves their feet, stays in. Their offensive line is what stands out to me is they always play with good posture. Very good offensive line, very well coached. And they can really hurt you in the passing game, particularly with the quarterback's ability to extend plays and make you cover just longer and longer as the game goes on. Well, yeah, and as we've kind of found ourselves almost an air raid team that's not built as an air raid team, but because we've been in so many 2-minute drills and tight games, defense is keeping the score down. Offensively, we're not turning the ball over a lot, and so we have tight games. We get in these 2-minute drills, and now we have to kind of push the tempo a little bit and throw it more to save time on the clock. Because so many of our drives have been in a spread system of offense, it can be difficult to, when you don't have the run game, as the field gets smaller and smaller, it can be difficult to sustain moving the football into the end zone. And there are a lot of spread offensive teams, air raid teams, whatever you want to call it, that struggle in the red zone. You saw that a little bit when we played Idaho State. They moved the ball pretty well and had several scoring drives, but we held them to field goals. We call that a 4-point play on defense. When you can get a 3rd down stop or something like that in the red zone that forces a field goal, you potentially, even if they make the field goal, you've saved yourself 4 points is one way to look at it. And that's, we've had that struggle a bit. We've got to get better in our running game, more efficient in our running game to set up a better passing game and a more effective passing game, but also just to be able to move the ball on the ground when we need to. And the red zone is one of those places where you need to be able to move the ball on the ground, at least have a threat of it.